janji padamu negeri, kami berbakti padamu negeri, kami mengabdi bagimu negeri, jiwa raga kami.
Hadirnya UT memastikan bahwa setiap warga bangsa berhak atas pendidikan tinggi di bawah kekuatan hukum tanpa adanya perbedaan. Lebih dari 2 juta lulusan berhasil menyelesaikan studi di UT. Kami bangga, sudah 4 dasawarsa UT hadirkan pendidikan berkualitas tanpa batas.
UT selalu berfokus ke masa depan dengan tetap berpijak pada nilai-nilai dan budaya adiluhung Nusantara. Digitalisasi layanan pendidikan mempermudah masyarakat dan mahasiswa mendapatkan informasi mengenai UT. Selain tercetak, bahan ajar juga diberikan dalam bentuk digital guna memudahkan mobilitas mahasiswa. Dengan demikian, belajar bisa dilakukan di mana saja, kapan saja, dan bersama siapa saja. Digitalisasi pendidikan juga diformulasikan ke dalam loka pasar digital mata kuliah yang ditawarkan oleh Indonesia Cyber Education Institute atau ICE Institute. Beragam mata kuliah dari perguruan tinggi terkemuka di tanah air dan mancanegara ditawarkan secara online. Perpustakaan UT sebagai salah satu unit vital di perguruan tinggi menawarkan fasilitas digital yang memungkinkan mahasiswa, dosen, tenaga kependidikan, bahkan masyarakat umum untuk mengakses sumber pustaka secara lebih leluasa. Beragam layanan yang diberikan memastikan student engagement dapat dilaksanakan dengan better, cheaper, and faster. UT pada tahun ini mengedepankan internasionalisasi program sebagai upaya menyejajarkan UT dengan perguruan tinggi jarak jauh berkualitas di dunia. Selain menawarkan program internasional, akreditasi internasional pun dilakukan. International Trust yang tinggi akan meningkatkan kredibilitas UT dan lulusannya. Public trust terhadap UT ditandai dengan terus meningkatnya jumlah mahasiswa UT dari tahun ke tahun.
Semoga keluar dari sini makin berkah hidupnya, apa yang diinginkan tercapai, dan yang pasti ilmunya bisa bermanfaat buat semuanya.
Tidak saja jumlahnya yang meningkat, komposisi mahasiswa pada saat ini didominasi oleh generasi milenial dan Gen Z. Untuk menjaga kualitas akademik, UT melibatkan M.Pd, Lembaga Akreditasi Mandiri, dan International Accreditation Bodies. Bahkan UT satu-satunya perguruan tinggi jarak jauh di Asia yang secara sukarela dan berkala mengundang ICDE untuk mereview semua layanan di UT. Kita ingin memastikan bahwa layanan yang diberikan telah memenuhi kaidah-kaidah dan standar kualitas yang diberikan oleh perguruan tinggi jarak jauh terkemuka di dunia. Pada tahun ini, jumlah program studi yang ditawarkan berjumlah 47 yang dikelola 4 fakultas dan sekolah pasca sarjana. Kantor UT daerah yang tersebar di seluruh wilayah Indonesia dan di luar negeri memastikan layanan pendidikan dapat dinikmati oleh semua tanpa terkecuali, termasuk mereka yang tinggal di wilayah terpencil, terluar, dan tertinggal, serta di luar negeri.
Mungkin harus menunggu puluhan tahun atau ratusan tahun untuk membangun kampus di tempat ini. Puji Tuhan, dengan adanya UT, saya bisa kuliah meskipun saya tinggal di tempat yang amat terpencil seperti ini.
Tanah airku tidak kulupakan, kan terkenang selama hidupku. Biarpun saya pergi jauh, tidak akan hilang dari kalbu.
Meskipun saya TKI di Hong Kong, saya tetap bisa kuliah di UT. Setelah jadi sarjana, saya akan pulang dan menjadi entrepreneur yang tangguh.
Meskipun kaki ini jauh melangkah hingga kutub utara, saya tetap memilih belajar di kampus tercinta Universitas Terbuka.
UT menyalawi.
Dengan semangat 4 dasawarsa, UT hadirkan pendidikan berkualitas tanpa batas.
Engkau ku banggakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, good morning everyone. The Honorable Professor Dr. Ucu Rahayu, MSc, as the Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, our esteemed speakers, Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, and Ibu Ika Tri Yunianika, S.Pd, M.Pd from Universitas Terbuka Indonesia. The Honorable Vice Dean of Academics, Dr. Hani Safitri, S.Pd, MSc, Vice Dean for Finance and General Affairs, Dr. Anda Isti Rohiah, M.A, Ph.D., and the Head of the English Education Department, Ibu Siti Hadianti, S.Pd, M.Pd. The Honorable Lecturers and Students of English Education Department, the Faculty of Education and Teacher Training of Universitas Terbuka. The Honorable all participants who joined today's session, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to the God for His blessings that allow us to gather virtually today for this webinar entitled Approaches in the Teaching of Literature in ESL and EFL Classroom. My name is Nurul Isra Fauziah, and I'll be the MC today for today's webinar. Before we start today's sessions, please allow me to present a pantun in Indonesian. You can say or type cakep if you want. Oke, ke taman bunga di kala senja, harumnya semerbak di tiap sisi. Mari buka hati, mata, dan telinga untuk mengikuti webinar di pagi ini. Dear participants, allow me to inform you that this webinar is conducted on Zoom meeting and published on FKIP TV on YouTube for students and the public. Video and speaker access is only granted for moderators and speakers, while participants can only listen. So please turn off your microphone. Participants can ask questions to the speakers through the Zoom meeting, chat menu, or Q&A features. The moderator will present the selected questions during the Q&A sessions. If the time permits, we will also welcome participants to ask questions directly to our speakers. E-certificates will be sent to the registered participants who attended the event and completed the attendance form. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our session, we would like to invite you to join us in the singing of our national anthem Indonesia Raya and the hymn of Universitas Terbuka. Please assume the proper posture. Next, we will have the opening speech from the head of English Education Department, Ibu Siti Hadianti, S.Pd, M.Pd. To Budian, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Ezi. So we call her Ibu Ezi. I'm very glad to be here on this event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Dean and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Education and Teacher Training, Universitas Terbuka, and also respected speakers that also already joined us today, Ibu Hanita Hanim Ismail from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, and also Ibu Yunianika, our lecturer from the English Education Department, Faculty of Education, Teacher Training. And I also want to greet my colleagues, lecturers, also students, and all participants joining this academic webinar today. I can also see here that we have participants from Malaysia as well, Ibu Hanita students. Hello everyone, very nice to have you all here. And also I can see from the participants, we also have our tutors and our students. So thank you very much for joining us in this event. It is with great honor and gratitude that we welcome you to this academic webinar. This webinar, we will have another webinar. I hope next year, and today's webinar will be like mark our event before the end of the year. So this webinar is hosted by our department, English Education Department, and the theme for today's event is approaches in the teaching of literature in English as a second language and English as a foreign language classrooms, ESL and EFL classrooms. It is to underscore our commitment to advancing effective teaching practices tailored to diverse learning contexts. So, as we know that Malaysia and Indonesia, we have a different kind of, teaching approach, both in our countries. But in today's globalized world, ESL and EFL classrooms cater to learners' distinct needs and environments. Yeah. While ESL learners are immersed in environments where English is the dominant or primary language, these learners in Malaysia need functional English skills to integrate into their societies, making language acquisition both immediate and practical. However, in Indonesia, as the EFL learners study English in settings where it is not the primary language of communication, we have a big challenges. Often involves limited exposure to English outside the classroom. So we require innovative strategies to foster the language engagement. So we hope that this webinar will provide an opportunity to explore how literature as a dynamic and culturally rich resource can be utilized to bridge this learning context. So we are privileged to have two outstanding speakers, Ibu Hanita and Ibu Ika, who will bring extensive expertise in their literature teaching approaches. And because Ibu Ika is also now pursuing her doctoral degree, we really hope that she can share what she has learned, and also, of course, Ibu Hanita. I hope their sessions will provide valuable insights into the integration of literature and leveraging storytelling and other genres to inspire and motivate learners, and all of you who have joined us today. So thank you very much, and may this event be an enlightening experience for us all. That's all. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ibu Ezi.
Okay, thank you, Budian, for the insightful speech. Next, we will have welcome remarks and official opening from the Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Professor Ucu Rahayu, M.Sc. to Professor Ucu Rahayu. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Bu Esi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us all. Distinguished guests, Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail from the Center of Studies in Innovation in Learning and Teaching, Faculty of Education, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. Good morning, Ibu Dr. Hanita. Alhamdulillah, we meet again here.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, Ibu Yunianika, M.Pd, Lecturer of English Department from Universitas Terbuka. She's also PhD candidate at the University of Aberdeen, UK. Selamat pagi, Mbak Ika.
Selamat pagi, Ibu.
Ayu, gimana kabarnya? Lagi musim apa di situ?
Alhamdulillah baik, Ibu. Lagi di Indonesia, lagi ambil data, Ibu.
Oh, lagi di Indonesia. Oh, alhamdulillah. Okay, respecting my colleague, all vice deans, all head of study program, especially the head of English study program, Ibu Siti Hadianti, M.Pd, all lecturers, students, and all participants of this academic webinar attending virtually. First, let us express our gratitude to God Almighty for His blessing and grace, which enable us to gather today for this academic webinar organized by the English Education Study Program, Faculty of Education and Teacher Training, Universitas Terbuka. May peace and blessing always be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Today's webinar is approaches in the teaching of literature in ESL and EFL classrooms. The organization of today's webinar is a part of our contribution to the supporting lifelong learning, especially for lecturers, teachers, students, and the broader community. This academic webinar serves as a vital platform to expand knowledge about innovative and relevant methods of teaching literature, enhance teaching skills through critical and creative approaches, and strengthen multicultural understanding in language classroom. We are honored by the presence of Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail and Ibu Ika Triwanika, who will share their insight and experience regarding literature teaching approaches to support student learning, particularly in the context of ESL and EFL education. Their presentation inspire us to explore integration in literature teaching, open new research opportunities, and foster professional collaboration, ultimately contributing to improving education quality and addressing global challenges. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all parties who contribute to the success of this event, especially our esteemed speakers, Dr. Hanita and also Ibu Ika, as well as the organizing committee. May this webinar enrich our knowledge, both in a theoretical and practical perspective, and serve as inspiration for the development of education in the future. So, with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I hereby officially declare today's academic webinar open. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Ucu, for the inspiring speech. And now we'll proceed to the most anticipated session with the two outstanding speakers today. And first, we will listen to a presentation by Ibu Ika Yunianika, S.Pd, M.Pd. And next, we will have Ibu Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail. And this session will be guided by our English education lecturer, Mr. Adrian Raski, M.H. Mr. Adrian, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Eji. Is my voice clear?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic approaches in the teaching of literature in ESL and EFL classroom. I'm Adriana Siki, and I will guide today's session. Today's discussion focus on innovative method and strategies to teach literature in English as a second language and English as a foreign language classroom, emphasizing cultural, linguistic, and pedagogical perspectives. Today, we are honored to have two distinguished speakers with us. Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail from the Center of Innovation in Learning and Teaching, Faculty of Education, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, and Ika Tri Yunianika, our own PhD candidate that currently studying at University of Aberdeen, UK, also lecturer of English Education Study Program, Universitas Terbuka. Allow me to share the guideline for this session. Each speaker will be given time for their presentation. There will be a Q&A session. Feel free to type your question in the chat box, or you can ask directly by raising your hand. Before we move to the presentation, allow me to introduce our first speaker. Yes, she is our own lecturer, Ika Tri Yunianika. She is an educator and a researcher in the field of TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages and English language teaching. She's currently pursuing her PhD at the University of Aberdeen, UK. She combines academic rigor with extensive practical experience in teaching English at various educational levels. With over a decade of teaching and lecturing experience, she has contributed to renowned institutions such as Universitas Terbuka, Madinatul Ilmi Islami College, and Ibnu Khaldun University. Holding a Master of Education in TESOL from the University of Professor Dr. Hamka Jakarta and a bachelor degree in TESOL from UIN Syarif Hidayatullah. Ms. Ika specializes in innovative approaches to language teaching that resonate with diverse learners. We are so glad to have her here with us today. Now, we will hear directly from Ms. Ika Tri Yunianika. The time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Adrian. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm so excited today because I have an opportunity to share my ideas about approach in teaching literature in ESL and EFL classroom.
Mbak Ika, Ibu Ika.
Yes.
Really sorry. I think because our dean has to go somewhere. Can
Okay.
we?
Oh yeah,
Can you take
I'm sorry.
picture? Okay.
Yeah, we should take picture first. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Before we go to main event, we should memorize this. As our dean, we have group photo. Yeah. Okay, let's take a picture first.
Okay.
Mas Fahri.
Okay, Mbak. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Yes, another pose. 3, 2, 1. Okay. The next slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Last slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Oh iya, bagusnya nih saya udah mau. Thank you very much, Ibu Ika.
Okay.
We
Thank
will
you.
be back
Thank you very
in
much,
yours.
everyone.
Ibu Ucu, thank you very much.
Okay, can I share my slide and my PowerPoint presentation now?
Yeah, you may, Miss Ika.
Thank you, Pak Adrian.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see the presentation, my presentation now?
Yes, crystal clear.
Okay. The title of my presentation today is Extensive Reading Using Graded Readers and Literature. Okay, I would like to tell you about the theory of extensive reading material, and also extensive reading implementation in some of the school in Indonesia. So what is extensive reading? Extensive reading is a language learning approach that involves students to read a large quantity of easy and interesting material with pleasure to get general information. So in extensive reading, the point is students should read large amount of easy and interesting, and also they read for the pleasure and enjoyment, and the aim is to get general information. So that's extensive reading. What is the differences between extensive reading and intensive reading? So in extensive reading, students read large quantity of material. It could be novel, magazine, newspaper, or even article from the website. And intensive reading, students read only like a short text and limited text. It can be from the textbook or from the worksheet. And in extensive readings, the material itself should be easy and interesting and engaging for the students. While in intensive reading, most of the material is difficult for the students. And in extensive reading, students read in a fast speed. They read with a good fluency, while in intensive reading, students read very carefully, word by word. In extensive reading, the focus itself is on comprehension and to get general information. While in intensive reading, the focus of reading is to get to learn new words, to learn the grammar, and to get a detailed information, to get a detailed understanding or specific information. And in extensive reading, when the students find difficult word, they just try to guessing the meaning from the context. While in intensive reading, if the students find difficult or unfamiliar word during their reading, they should using a dictionary to find the meaning of the difficult word. And in extensive reading, students read because for the enjoyment, for the pleasure, for having fun. While in intensive reading, they read because of academic orientation, because of the assignment from the teacher. When we study in junior high school, senior high school, teachers sometimes give us the text, and then from the textbooks, it consists of like 1 passage, 2 passage, or 3 passage, or 1 pages. And then after reading the text, the teacher asks the students to answer the question related to the text. It's called intensive reading. So this is what the differences of extensive reading and intensive reading. What is the theoretical background of extensive reading? It is based on the framework of Stephen-Presson input hypothesis. According to Stephen-Presson, learners will acquire a second language by understanding the message through listening and reading when they receive comprehensible input. So input in here is exposure. Learners or students will acquire language if they get enough exposure. It can be from listening or it can be from reading. So what kind of exposure that students should have? The exposure should be, or the input should be I+1. I in here refers to input. The input should be slightly above the learner's current proficiency level. So if the learner current proficiency level is in this line, we as a teacher should give the input which is slightly above the learner's current proficiency level. If we give the input which is too high for the students, of course, they will find difficulties to understand the material. If we give like too low input or exposure to the students, of course, they will think that the input it's too boring, and then the input is not suitable for them. So that's why we should give the input which is slightly above the learner's current proficiency level, I+1. The formula is here. Why extensive reading is quite significant in teaching learning process? Now, as you can see here, the simple model of second language acquisition, it consists of 3. The first one is input, The second one is process, and the last one is output. Input in here is meaning the exposure. So if you want to help your students having a good proficiency in English, you have to give an exposure to the students. And the exposure could be by reading and by listening. And then what kind of exposure that we can give to the students? It should be easy, enjoyable, and in a large quantity. Of course, if you give a difficult exposure, like giving a books which is difficult for the students, or giving the YouTube channel which is not in line with students' current language proficiency level, they will find hard and challenging to understand the material. And it's hard for them to understand the context. And the second one is the process. After getting the input, students can internalize the language, the acquired language system. So after getting the input, they internalize it in their brains and they acquire the language. And after that, they produce the language. In the third process, it's output. Learners, if they are having exposure in reading, they will be a fluent reader. If they already become a fluent reader, of course, they will be having a good ability in writing, in organizing and writing their ideas in English. And if the learners getting an exposure in listening here, they will be a good fluent listener. If they already become a good fluent listener, they will be a good speaker. A good speaker can speak very well because they imitate what they listen, what they hear from the teacher, maybe from the YouTube channel or from the podcast. So extensive reading as one of the exposure in second language acquisition is quite significant, having a very good impact on students' learning. So this is the benefit of extensive reading. As you can see here, there are so many benefits of extensive reading. The first one, it increased vocabulary, exposure to English language material, of course, will increase students' vocabulary when they find the new words by the context. It increases their word recognition and understanding of new vocabulary. It will also build their grammar awareness. Exposure to correct language structure will affect students' grammar awareness. So they will have an instinct whether the grammar is good or correct or incorrect. And also it will develop writing skill. The exposure to well-written text will teach students on how to organize their ideas in English, how to write a good sentence in English. So it is because of they read a lot of material in English. And also it will improve student reading comprehension. Because of students reading a lot of material in English, the ability to comprehend, to understand the text or the passage will also improve. And it will also build critical thinking, which is very useful for students in their academic and professional life. That's one of the benefits of extensive reading. It will also enhance imagination and creativity. When students read fiction novel, comics, short stories, their imagination and creativity will improve because of their reading. And also it increases students' motivation to learn English. When they have a flow in reading, their motivation to learn English will also improve. And it also will improve students' knowledge or learners' knowledge, because if they read diverse topic, their knowledge will also improve in the different kind of topic. It will also build student self-confidence, because when they have good ability in grammar, mastering many vocabulary, having a good writing skill, of course, their self-confidence will also improve. And the last one is greater understanding of different culture, because extensive reading readers read diverse topic with the different culture, of course, they will also have a good understanding in different culture, different perspective, different ideas, because they read different genre and different topics of English material in extensive reading. So, do you know this person? Pak Adrian, do you know this person?
I afraid I don't know.
Maybe some of you know this person. He is Pak Willy Renandia. If I'm not mistaken, he's from NTU.
Yes.
He is an expert in English language teaching. So he was born in Indonesia, and he was studying in primary school, junior high school, and senior high school in Indonesia. He said that he has very low level of English competency when he was in junior high school and senior high school, and also in undergraduate studies. He said that he was struggling in the first year of his study at English education. He had start out at the bottom of the class in terms of language proficiency, and was even falling behind in his study. So he said that he has very lower level of English competency in English, but because he read a lot of material in English, so he really loved reading in this one, a novel, Perry Mason books, Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot series. And by the end of his study in undergraduate, he had become very fluent in English, both spoken and written. And also he graduated with the highest GPA in his class. And when he tried to apply the job in one of the schools in Indonesia, and his TOEFL score is above 600. So it's because of reading, because of extensive reading, because he read a lot of material in English. And the topic or the material is really easy and interesting for Pak Willy. So that's why now he become of the expert in extensive reading, conducting roadshow to students in Indonesia and in another country in Asia, telling the benefit of extensive reading. And this one is one of my friend in bachelor degree. Her name is Barikatul Hikmah. She is an avid reader. She read a lot of English material. She loved watching Western movie. And this time, her English is excellent, both oral and written. I read some of her article, which has been published in Jakarta Post. You know, it doesn't easy to let your article published in Jakarta Post if you are not having a good ability in writing in English. And she spoke in the United Nations expert meeting and many international forums. And her IELTS overall bench score is 8 with the several levels she won. Her IELTS in reading, her reading score in IELTS is 9. Because of what? Because of she read a lot of English material. So it's affect her ability in English, both in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And here is the extensive reading material. In conducting extensive reading, there are two materials that can be used. The first one is graded readers. It is also called non-authentic material because it is designed for foreign language learner. And the other one is literature. It is called authentic material because it is written for the native speaker. The graded reader is a simplified book. They use simplified grammar, simplified vocabulary, and also simplified sentence. And there are more illustration in the pages of the books, and the font is also bigger. As I told you, it is written for foreign language learners. So it is tailored to match the different language proficiency of the students. It is appropriate for beginner or intermediate learners. What about literature or authentic material? It is a complex one. The complex language, it is written with the complex language, with the complex vocabulary, with the complex grammar, and then also the complex writing style. It is written for native speaker, and it is suitable for advanced learners. I was conducting an interview with one of the teacher from Indonesia. He said that some of the students in his class doesn't like to read graded readers because the student said it's too easy. I don't like graded readers. So then that's why the teacher give another challenging one. The teacher give a novel to the students, and novel is categorized as literature. This is the example of graded readers. As you can see here, level 1, level 1, level 1. And this one is level 2, start readers. And this one is level 6. So there is a leveling in graded readers. In the level 1, maybe in one page, there's only one sentence or two sentences. And the rest of the page is only like an illustration. In level 2, yeah, it can be like 2 sentences or 3 sentences. While in the level 6, it could be like 1 passage in or 2 passage in 1 pages. So if your students are in the level 1 of English language proficiency, you can use this level, the first level. If they are advanced learner, you can use the 6th level. So each student has different language proficiency, and that's why the teachers should give different books to the students. It should not be the same book for all the students. What about the literature? This is the example of literature, the novel, Little House on the Prairie, Pride and the Prejudice. I think there's also the movie of this novel. And then the Three Musketeers, Harry Potter. This one, the example of literature that can be used as a material in extensive reading program. Okay, how to select the extensive reading material for the students? You can use 5-finger rule for extensive reading. If your students having difficulties to, Miss, I don't know which one is the book better for me. So you can use this 5-finger rule. The first one is open the book and read 1 page and count the number of new words. If you find 1 new words or or 1 difficult vocabulary in 1 page, that means the book is too easy for you. But if you find like 2 or 3 difficult vocabulary in 1 page, that means the book is perfect for you. If you find 4 difficult or unfamiliar vocabulary in 1 page, that means the book is challenging for you, but you can try to read a book. However, if you find like 5 difficult words in 1 page or more than 5, that means the book is too difficult for you. So you can try to find another book which suits your best, which suits your level. 2 or 3 is the perfect book for you. So you can use this rule to help your students decide which one is the book for them. And I know that implementing extensive reading is not easy because you have to provide good resource, enough resource for extensive reading program. And this one, the example of extensive reading program which has been conducted in some school in Indonesia. The first one is extensive reading program which has been conducted in one of the Islamic school in Depok. The schedule is 30 minutes in the morning, so they conduct extensive reading once a week, and they ask students to read, free to read fiction or non-fiction in the virtual library. They usually throw an application for extensive reading, and also last year they used HLL, and how the teacher monitor their reading progress of the students. They monitor it by virtual library, so there is a part of the teacher which can see how many books read by students, how many words read by students, the progress of their students. So it is good for the school which have many students, because it's not easy to control students. If it is only 15 or 20 students, you can track the students' progress easily. But if it is so many students, it is better for the school to use an application. And also, this is the second one is the extensive reading program. in one of the school in also Depok. They ask the student to read at home. They use a physical book from the library, or if the students have their own book, they can use their own books. And every twice in a month, they make like a library visit and then check their students' reading progress in the library. Another school is a boarding school in Nusa Tenggara Timur. They make the schedule is during English classes and also in the free time, because it is boarding school. So when students have a free time, they can come to English room to read the extensive reading material. And then they use a virtual library. The name of the virtual library is xreading.com, and they also have physical books from the library. And how is the monitoring? The monitoring itself can be conducted in the X-reading. The teachers can see the numbers of the book, the words of the book, the quizzes that has been completed by the teacher, by the students. This is extensive reading in a high research school. What about a school which is categorized in low research school? Can they conduct an extensive reading? Yes, of course. This is the example of extensive reading in a school near Pondok Cabe, near our campus. They conducted extensive reading 20 minutes in the morning, twice in a month. The teacher tried to find out the article and then give the article to the students. And after reading the article, the teacher asked the student to make a presentation, or sometimes asking the student to ask the question or make a summary. And the second one is this school, one of the school, the public school in Bekasi. They conducted extensive reading by 30 minutes reading in the hall of the school. So all of the students in this school gathered together in the hall, and they read at the same time physical books from the library or students' own book. And after that, the teacher asked the students to make a presentation, voluntary presentation. And there's also the last one is extensive reading in one of the school in Banten. The teacher asked students to read reading at home, and then the teacher used free virtual libraries such as Let's Read Asia, Literacy Cloud. And how the teacher monitor the student is by making a project and summary. This is the example of extensive reading implementation in law research school. Some of the school using graded readers, but while another school using literature, because they don't have graded readers. So if the school doesn't have graded reader, you can use literature. This is the example of one of the application of extensive reading. The name of website is application is xreading.com. I make a subscription for my children at home, so I ask them to read in this application. There are 1,200 graded readers, and there's an audio books on the system. So if you want to listen the book and don't want to read a book, you can just push the button of audio, and there is a universal level system. So there will be level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and so on. If you are your students in the level 1, so you can choose the level 1. If you are in the level 2, so you can choose the level 2. And then there is also a quizzes. So after reading the book, there will be a quizzes, which consists of like 5 questions, a simple 5 question. And after the students complete the quizzes, they will get the report of their reading progress from the first book until maybe 50 books. There is progress over there, and how many words they have already read. And also the teacher can monitor number of books and words by the student. It is very effective for the school which having many students. Yeah, this is very good application for extensive reading. Okay. Well, that's all my presentation. If you have any question, just let me know and telling to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ika, for such an amazing presentation about extensive reading. We will now move to Q&A session. I would like to see if there's any question for you. Yeah, I would like to see it in the chat box first or in the by message. Yeah, uh, here is Mr. Haryanto from Bandar Lampung raise his hand. Please to open your mic and ask question directly to Mr. Haryanto, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Adrian, for the time given to me, and also thank you so much, Kak Ika Tri Yunianika, for this amazing presentations about the intensive and also extensive reading. Yeah, theoretically, yeah, extensive reading is very nice to be implemented. Yeah, but honestly, it's going to be hard to be implemented in the class, yeah, because uh, the background knowledge of of the student itself, yeah. The question is when we are going to conduct or implement the intensive reading to our students, uh, when it is about the text or source of reading, should we provide it, or the students, or we as the teachers just give the topic to the students, and the students can find any sources based on their interests? That's the first question. And the second question is the AI. Yeah, the development of AI sometimes makes the students feel lazy to read the text. Yeah, they can directly translate from the English to Indonesians by using AI technology. And what should we do to handle the situations, Kak Ika? Thank you so much for giving me a chance to this question, and I hope that I can give the best answer from Kak Ika. Thank you, Kak Adrian.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Haryanto. So Ms. Ika, please kindly respond to the Mr. Haryanto question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haryanto. So your question is, do we need to let our students to choose their own book, or as the teacher, or we are as a teacher select the book? So it's depend on the situation. Some of the school let the teacher to choose the book, and while in another school, they let the children or the students to choose their own book. So it's depend on the situation. If, for example, you have like high research of English material, so maybe you can ask the students to like to choose their own book. But if in your school there's only several source of material of even, or maybe you don't have the books, the graded book or the literature book like a novel, you can just find an article from the website or from the internet and ask your students, or newspaper and ask your students to read the book. So it's depend on the situation. And what about the AI? Yes, that the difficulties of the challenge in implementing extensive reading, of course. When I was conducting an interview with some of the teacher, I asked them how to solve the problems when students are not reading the books, but they just try to find, like, make a resume from the AI. And they said we make a project after they read the book. For example, they make a project. They ask the student to make a Canva, and then asking them to sell, to promote the books with the Canva. And another project that can be conducted to control their students, which cannot be which cannot be used in AI. If you just ask your student to make a resume, of course it's easy for them to use an AI. But try to doing another project which cannot be used by AI. Oh, I remember one of the school in M.Pd, they asked the student to make a drama based on the book. So yeah, that's a good choice, I think, that can be conducted by the teacher.
Well, that's such a good response to Mr. Haryanto. Is that enough to answer your question, right? Okay, we move to the next question. If there are any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box, or you can ask directly by raising your hand. Hmm. Okay, now we have a question. Okay, I will read it down, read to Misika. The question is, how do we identify interesting and uninteresting literary work? What is the measure of interesting literary work? Because there are also literary works that are difficult but are interesting to read. For example, Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare and Pride and Prejudice that you mentioned about. How do we justify that these are literature work that can be read extensively and these are not? Or are there other methods besides the extensive reading from Reski? To Misika, please kindly respond.
Okay, okay, thank you, Pak Rizky. So how to identify interesting and uninteresting literary work? So I think it's depend on the person itself. Me myself, like my son, for example, my son, I asked him to read a novel, and they said, "Mommy, I don't like novel. I don't want to read a novel." And when I asked him to read a comic, he said, "Mommy, I really love comics, so I just want to read a comic." Even a comic, it can also be the source of extensive reading if it is in English. So interesting or uninteresting, it's depend on the objectivity of the person itself. And then what else? How do we justify these are literary works that can be read extensively and these are not? Or are there any other method besides the extensive reading? I think extensive reading is a language teaching approach that can be used to read a literature. So as long as you read the literature extensively, large amount, frequently, it is called extensive reading. Is that enough?
Yeah, thank you, Misika. To you, to Mr. Reki, is that enough to answer your question? Okay, I think it's enough. We'll see that if there's any question for you. I think there is not. Yeah, there is no question also in the chat box. Maybe from the participant that joined in the webinar, you can ask directly to Misika about the extensive reading and how it is supposed to do in the implication of the teaching and in the high school or junior high school or maybe in the elementary school. Yeah, so extensive reading can be built from the basic to the advanced reading so that we can already have the or mastering the reading itself. So when we looking for the main idea or information, we cannot we doesn't have the difficulties to look for it. I think that's it. Uh, Maybe because there is no question. Wait, I will see. Okay, we have two other questions, Miss Ika. The first one is from Hami Hibatul Jamil. The question is how to assess reading level of our students. Is there any test that we can give so that the literary work will be appropriate to their level? You can answer it, please. Can you
Okay,
respond?
thank you, Ms. Ami. How to assess the reading level of our students? In some school, they conduct like TOEFL tests in the beginning of the study. If it is in the junior high school, so they conduct the test in the sixth grade, and every year they conduct that kind of test. In another school, they have their own assessment for their students. So it's depend on the school. So before conducting extensive reading, yeah, it's better for you to make an assessment for your students. And the test itself, it's variative depend on the school itself. And so the literary works will be appropriate to their level. As I told you, you can use 5-finger rule if the students find only one word, one difficult word in one page, that means the book is too easy for them. If they find 2 or 3 difficult words in one page, that means it is reachable for them. If it is 4 or 5 words in one page, that means the book is too difficult for the students. And then another question from Miss Anita. Yes. Mr. Adrian, I cannot hear your voice.
I'm sorry. Yeah. This is another question from Miss Hanita. Could you share how to evaluate the process of this extensive reading that we have conducted?
Oh, okay. Okay, because extensive reading itself is not for academic purposes, but for the pleasure and for the enjoyment of the students. So it's quite hard to see the progress of the students unless you make like a full test or IELTS test. But it takes time, like maybe 2 years, 3 years, or even 4 years to see the progress of your children, of your students after doing extensive reading. So it cannot be assessed in this short time.
Okay, I think that's answered the question. Thank you, Ms. Ika, for your response. It's such an amazing response. Now we will move to we have two parts. I would like to move to the next speaker.
Thank you,
Thank
Pak
you very
Adrian.
much. Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Ika. Yeah, before we move to the next speaker, allow me to introduce her. Yes, this is our next speaker, Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail. She is a senior lecturer and coordinator for international relations and the audio TSL program at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. Specializing in English literature, she combines her passion for teaching with her expertise in innovative pedagogy to transform literature education for ESL and EFL learners. Her teaching philosophy emphasizes independent learning, critical thinking, and creative engagement through literature. With over 20 years of academic experience, she has pioneered approaches that integrate technology and literature to foster student curiosity and resilience in the learning process. Yes, we are honored to have her here. Hello, Ibu Dr. Hanita, Hanim Ismail. Are you there?
Yep, right here. Thank you for the
Yeah.
introduction.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you, Mr. Adrian?
I'm feeling amazing today because we have two wonderful speakers today that will share their expertise with us. Okay. Uh, yeah. Uh, okay. Okay, Miss Dr. Hanifa, uh, you can take your time. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much also to the organizing department, the English language department, English education department, under the leadership of Dr. Siti Hardianti, and of course a special invitation by Prof. Ucu. I was privileged enough to have met colleagues from UT 2 months ago. UT is such a beautiful place to learn. It has such a wonderful equipped studios, along with a more established technology and pedagogical practices, to which I'm sure I can learn a lot from. So here it says, confirm your language, your speaking language. So I'm speaking in English. I hope to be audible enough for everyone. Okay, can we go from the first page? I think, yes. Okay, now before I can even continue, let me introduce you to the practices of using literature as part of the English language education in Malaysia. Malaysia is a long friend with Indonesia. We've come a long way. In fact, we are brothers and sisters, yeah? So because of that, I think it's also important for me to also reintroduce some and provide some background to how English is taught in schools, all right, and how literature is also used as one of its components. So basically, the teaching of English in Malaysia is taught is taught to reinforce skills. So having done that, an added component is introduced sometime early 1980s, hoping that students are now more interested to read. Yeah, so I think this is where our first speaker just now, Ms. Ika, spoke about trying to get students to be interested with reading. So the intention is also similar in Malaysia, to instill, to get students interested to read. And so next slide, please. Of course, when the whole intention is to get students to read, of course, it did not work in silo. It became a national agenda, and so with that, what happened was that the ministry came up with initiatives, and in Malaysia we've got our own reading programs, and I know that in Indonesia there are also some reading programs. Yeah, so in Malaysia, our reading programs are known as ELRP and CRP. So it started off with ELRP, to which didn't quite work, so it was put to a stop for a while. Yeah, and then a new reading program was introduced, the CRP program. Yeah, along in this each program comes a set of reading lists. Yeah, so basically students are introduced to reading other things besides their textbooks. Yeah, so titles such as The Black Beauty, Gulliver's Travel, whatever were included in the text selection, right? So of course it did not use, it did include the authentic length of original classical text, which can go as long as 100 pages, yeah, hundreds and 200s maybe pages or so whatsoever. So what we used was the abridged version. Yeah? So initially that didn't work. So ELRP was a fumble. Yeah, it was a loss attempt, and another attempt was introduced. Yeah, and this time came in CRP. This time around, it was slightly more organized, more systematic, with a more personalized touch, where the titles are slightly easier, more familiar to the students whatsoever. Yeah. So and of course, readers get to choose which level they are, whether they are intermediate or beginners level, or even advanced level. And so this become a very autonomous option for them to decide which one or which level are they at. Yeah, but yet, sadly enough, it also didn't work. So the literature component under ELE in Malaysia was put to a stop sometime 3 years ago. All right. So currently, the status of using literature component in the Malaysian syllabus was to a point where it was made compulsory. Yeah, it was even examined and placed in our national assessment practices. Of course, in Malaysia at secondary level, there are two. There used to be two national assessments. Sijil Peperiksaan Malaysia for for those exiting from the school, and mid secondary known as Sijil Rendah Peperiksaan. Yeah, so that is just to determine whether a student is now considering going to science. It would actually help, yeah, going to sciences or going to social sciences or accounting, the art stream. So so literature was actually included in the national assessment, to which it was, like what I said earlier, it was put to a stop simply because readers were not able to connect with what they were reading. Yeah, so possible reason could be the texts were unfamiliar, the language range were too difficult, and others. So anyway, what I intend on sharing today is sharing some of the best practices at teaching reading, by using literary text. So earlier, someone was asking Ms. Ika on how to determine whether these texts are, whether you can use this text or not, whether it's good enough, sufficient enough, whatsoever, and naming titles such as Jane Austen, Shakespeare, whatsoever. Of course, in the reading list that I've mentioned before, there were titles, renowned titles like Shakespeare, included in the poem, category. I think when one speak about selecting titles, I think a good mix would be both, yeah. The Malaysian, or in this case, Malaysian titles or local titles in Indonesia, maybe written in English, as well as those coming from the international arena. Reason being simply because the whole intention of introducing literature is to widen the horizon, to open the mind, and somehow introduce students to another culture to which they might not be familiar with. And so that would be actually a more nobler reason for us reading literature. It's like going to another country without having to pay your air tickets, or having to go to airport or go through immigration where there is a long queue whatsoever. So that's the beauty of reading another culture, reading a text that comes from a different culture. So anyway, I'll move on to talking about the suggested approaches that teachers in the future might use whenever that they are teaching reading, okay, particularly reading, using literary text, shall we? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so of course, as a teacher, you may use I'm sure this is the normal practice. You would actually, before you can even ask students to read, you normally do pre-lesson, and then you do lesson, and of course some post-lesson. But today I'll just be talking about pre-lesson and lesson itself. So in us trying to get students to be interested with the text that we are reading, so one of the ways, of course, one of the strategies is to use front loading, yeah? And of course, later on, once they are ready to engage, that's where you can use general process strategy. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, one more. All right, so what is front loading strategy in pre-reading? Okay, basically, it's about, you know that you have selected a text, and I'm sure you won't be able to use the text for the next, let's say, 1 hour's class. Yeah? So maybe it's a shorter version of the text. Let's say it's a short story. So you might not be able to use the text the whole 1 hour. So what you could do is just to take an excerpt from the short text, short story. Yeah. So based on the short story, the excerpt or the short story, what you could do is just to get them into the mood by, identifying what is the main idea. So you can start off with main ideas, or let's say you could also look at the lexical range that are included in the excerpt that you plan on using. So now what you want to consider is, are these words familiar to your students? If not, if let's say there are some rather new range, so what you could do is you could somehow prepare them towards reading this range, because I think it's always natural for us when we are not familiar with something, we get a bit excited, a bit anxious, and slightly drawn back instead of coming out, embracing the text and really enjoying it. It's after some time when we get to know more, or we are more comfortable, that we will enjoy the process. Just like us getting to know people. At first time, maybe we're slightly shy, we're slightly timid, very few words. But as we get to know each other, we're now warmer. At least I think I'm like that. Yeah. So that can also be done when you are trying to get students to read. All right. So it somehow gets the students ready. Yeah. Let them get the bigger impression to what they're handling. Next slide, please. How do you do this? Okay. So beside introducing the words that they shall be introduced to, yeah, what you could do is you could get them ready by maybe showing a model about whatever that you're doing. Let's say the short story is about Malaysia. So showing a model of, let's say the flag just now. So introducing the flag is also one way of getting them into the mood. Or let's say the text is something to do with mosquitoes. So you can bring a mosquito, a mini version of a slightly bigger version of the small little mosquito that bite us every day, So slightly enlarging that and get students to talk about it. And of course, by asking them questions also gets them ready. Yeah. So these are some of the ways that you could do front loading. Okay, next slide. Okay. And of course, what you could also do is just to get them ask question. Maybe you could show them the title of the short story and get them to guess. Ask them, what do you think this short story is about? Quiz them. So when they start asking questions and then maybe as they laugh at each other, whatsoever, at least they are now slightly reduced in anxiety. Yeah. So what is it to make prediction before reading? It makes reading an active reading, causing you to think about what you're reading. So this is part of metacognition. Yeah. So you're thinking about what you're thinking. Yeah? How do I know this? So later it'll be connected to, the things that they discover in their reading process. Okay, next slide. Okay. How do you make predictions? Looking for clues. And we're wonderful investigators. Let's say we don't know about things, then we start asking questions, and that triggers to another question, and then we start asking another person about it. So in a way, when we do that, it gets us to find answers and to become actively involved with the text that we're doing. And it's a wonderful process. Okay. And of course, constantly asking about what I think about the text. So just like asking, okay, what's going to happen next? Why does she do this? Just like how we watch Cinetrons. As we watch, especially me, when I watch Cinetrons, there'll be a lot of questions, and then the face would actually frown as I continue watching. And same thing happen as you read, and of course, sometimes what people could do is they could jot down things by the side, because the beauty of the text layout is there are margins on both sides of the text, to which one would actually question, what's the purpose of this margin? So a better practice of using this margin or making use of this margin is to use annotation. So when you annotate, you're actually getting engage with the text that you're reading, simply because there'll be questions, there'll be a new word that you found, or something that you don't understand. So there's a big circle, or you might like a particular color of a highlighter, so you use it, so in some cases, some students of mine, they would actually go crazy and highlight the whole thing, to which makes one wonder, what is the important thing here? All right, so annotation is another way to, help you, predict. It's somehow a process of making prediction. And of course, this internal dialogue that we do with ourselves, asking questions, and we're trying to answer it as we go. So this is a wonderful way, for us to continuously be engaged in reading. Next slide. So when you're reading, what you could do is, of course, just to set a purpose. So why am I reading this? So maybe what teachers normally do is they could show a list of questions to which students would actually make use for skimming or scanning. So it somehow leads them to find out what these questions are. What are the answers to these questions? So setting purpose is one way of continuously getting into the mood, making them read continuously. Or what you could do is you could always get them to relate to background. So this is the schematic background, like how is this relatable to my life? Has this ever happened to my family? Or you could always get the students to relate between the text and another text, like, have you seen or read this in the newspapers, or have you come across anything that you stumbled upon in the website, whatever? So that could be another way of getting them, to go beyond the text. Or the furthest that you could get them to think or to consider is between text and the world. You can get them to ask, have you seen this in the international news headlines? What's happening out there? Is this something that you can relate to? Okay, so of course, you can also come back, doing a more, slightly more very, very, detailed, where you try and understand word per word, trying to understand why the writer uses certain words. Yeah, because like poetry itself, each word are deliberately selected in order to convey precise meaning. Yeah, it's not unintentional. So because of that, as readers, we decode these words. All right. So it's a play, it's a whole experience of trying to enjoy text itself. Okay. So making personal connection, just like what I've said earlier, or even getting them to visualize the story that they're reading, or the poem that they're reading, or even the drama that they're reading. So this is exactly what Miss Ika was talking about, making projects, getting students to dramatize work that based on the text that they're reading. So the ability is now magnified beyond the text that they're reading. Yeah, so that would actually make a wonderful post-reading activity. But we will be talking about that in a bit. Yeah, of course, getting students to ask questions, you ask questions, students ask another student's questions. All right, so general process strategies. Okay, let's move on to another slide. Okay, you could also get them to think aloud. Yeah, so how do you think aloud? Wilhelm, 2001, proposes this. Yeah, of course, you can't do with longer text. You could use shorter text, a poem, a short story, and then of course you could identify strategies that you want to use. Front loading. Of course, there's so many strategies that you can use. General purpose just now. And then get to read them aloud, all right? Enjoying the enunciation of words that comes out from your mouth, yeah? Somehow getting into the writer's, mood, or as if that you're the writer, yeah? So the reader and the writer becomes one, yeah, when you're reading the text, yeah? And then, of course, model your think aloud. You could underline words or phrases that help you to use a strategy. And of course, you're describing the strategy used. Okay, next. If let's say that you're dealing with drama, what you could do is you could engage in reader theatre, where, as we know, in drama, there are dialogues, right? And these dialogues are actually uttered by different characters. What you could do with students is to get them to read different lines. And so instead of having real props, real preparation, you could be a class activity where each students are assigned, some of the students are assigned to a particular character, and have them read out loud the lines, the dialogues. And somehow in between this reading of lines, you could ask questions, and this is where some of the students get slightly excited, where they might even jump to live up the situation, to really live the context. So this is where you get to see students enjoying themselves. And of course, those who do not like the more kinesthetic, approach might be immersed in themselves. They might be more quiet. They might be quieter, where they would like to write down things. And as they write, what you're now seeing is the process of meta connection. They're trying to understand what they're reading. They're trying to explore what they're experiencing. So by asking questions, have I seen this before? Is this something familiar? Now, those are students' attempt of trying to relate at personal level. Yeah. The moment they ask whether they've read this before or seen it in any website or whatever, again, that's a more personal level. So what you've seen just now was a cross between something that is physical as opposed to something that is more personal. Yeah. So again, this addresses the diversified type of learners, So not all of us are the same. Some of us would prefer to sit quietly enjoying our text. Others like to act it out. So there's so many, strategies that one can use. Next slide, please. And so if for the quieter ones, what you could also do is you could somehow, further explore your own, journey, your reading journey, trying to understand, okay, what have I understood so far, or trying to, individually paraphrase the text itself. Yeah. Or in some cases, I don't know whether you have experienced this, but when they have adapted Twilight, the novel, and of course, turn it into a movie, some of us actually frown and say, this is not the Andrew Cullen that I've imagined. He's slightly more Yeah, if that's the case, if you have experienced that, so as you read, you might have experienced this visualization. You might have visualized Andrew Cullen to look this way or speak a certain way. But when the movie comes out, you are frustrated because you have certain expectation of the characters that you're reading. Similarly, if let's say that you're reading Gulliver's Travel and you have imagined the island to look this way, and when you see the movie, you get frustrated simply because you have earlier, initiated a form of expectation, some sort of expectation to how it looks like, what would it do, you might have, visualize it and have your own active TV in your mind, so on. So if you did that, so what you have done is you have engaged in what we call as metacognition. Okay, next slide, please. Some students like to write. I know I like to doodle. Before long, in those days when before blogs were introduced, I like to doodle. There will be some books that I will doodle my thoughts. In some cases, drawing something, trying to visualize things. So something that you use, something that you do with your hands, like doodling, writing, and later on, as we come nearer to our time, you've got applications such as blogging, or in some cases, you like to create an entry or whatsoever. So those are attempts at trying to, understand text. Yeah. So I'll just use blogs, for example. And, with blogging, you are actually trying to insert your perspective, what you think, what you like to comment about the text that you're reading. Sometimes you like to maybe gossip about the characters or whatsoever. So if you do that, this is what we call as fair use, according to Center of Social Media 2009. Okay, next slide. So how does, I must have not included that slide, but how do you use fair use for the information for everyone's information? The moment you add your version of the text, like for example, you feel that this should not be included, so you take it out. Or let's say you want to add something in, just like adding more recipe into the proposed recipe. So you add something, that's also what we call as fair use. Or let's say you feel like, let's say you've got a poem and the poem is about an apple, okay? So you feel that the linear way, the line by line sort of structure wouldn't work at trying to express that the poem is about apple. So you might want to deform the poem into looking something like an apple. So if you do that, not only you're personalizing your reading, you are actually using what we call as fair use. And of course, the more trendier, much liked, way of processing reading is turning it into something that you can share with others. Yeah. So this is what we call as digital storytelling. You are sharing your version of the story. Maybe this is where next slide, where you might incorporate adaptation. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if you notice in the movies that we watch, yeah, some movies are very loose. They adapt rather loosely from the original text. So there's loose adaptation, there's very faithful adaptation, and of course there are the literal adaptation. So with faithful adaptation, the adaptation copies the original text word per word, yeah, so very faithfully, yeah. But literal, so this is there's slightly a redundancy between faithful and literal, but these are some of the ways adaptation are done. Okay, so going back to the previous slide, if you could. Oh no, the previous one. Yes, thank you. So if let's say that you're going to use digital storytelling in order to get students to enjoy the after process, after reading, yeah, process, what you could ask them is to do DST or digital storytelling. So basically it's telling a story. Yeah, you narrate again. All right. So the fun part of DST is the incorporation of many modes. Yeah. So DST is what we call as multimodality, the use of not just text, but also sound, pictures, as well as music, as well as a voiceover. All right. So here what I have included in the next two slides, could you go to the next two slides? Is an example of a DST produced by one of our projects at UKM. Can you go to two slides? One more? Okay, can you play that for everyone to enjoy? Hey, can you click that? No? Cannot click, is it? No. Okay. All right.
I
If
think
that's the
it
case,
can be
cannot.
cheated.
Okay, in that case, it's okay. In that case, let me share the video for you. Okay.
Yeah,
Give me a minute. All right. This is what we call as hiccups. Yeah, sometimes things happen, you know, while you are trying to share things. Well, it's okay. All right. Okay. Oh, hold on. Okay, copy. Why don't I share immediately?
Okay, while we wait. Okay, the video is showing.
Okay, right. There it is. Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready. The video is still not showing.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Right, hold on. This window away from the chat application. Hold on. Can I share the link with Dr. CT? And so yes, hold on. I think that's a better practice.
Yeah, you can share it.
Okay. I'm sharing with Dr. CT. Dr. CT, I hope you are listening.
Yeah, that's positive. You may share the link with us.
Okay, I'm
This
so
is not
sorry
a
about
doctor yet.
this.
Okay. While we wait, everyone, the participant of this webinar, you can type your question on the chat box, or you can ask directly later
Yes.
by raising
Sure.
your hand. You can ask really to our previous guest, Dr. Hanita. She already can. I think she's ready to give you an amazing answer.
I hope you're okay with the link, Dr. Siti. Is it coming out?
Yeah, boleh. Yeah. Uh,
A special shout out to all my students.
yeah.
Hi guys. I hope you're listening.
Okay. The video is playing right now.
There's a sound problem. Yeah, there should be some sound.
Yeah, I think the sound is not shared yet.
I think we need to take down and then put it up again.
Okay.
No sound. Can I suggest the organizer to take down the video first? And then when you reshare, don't forget to click the sound. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I think there's some technical issue.
Oh, that's usual, biasa.
Standing and protecting the delicate balance of the underwater.
All right.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, in the deep blue depths of the ocean, a vibrant world thrived beneath the waves. Countless species of underwater sea life live in perfect harmony, oblivious to the dangers lurking above. This is the story of how a group of brave individuals took it upon themselves to keep the ocean and its inhabitants safe from harm. Our story begins with Serena, a young marine biologist who had dedicated her life to understanding and protecting the delicate balance of the underwater ecosystem. Serena's love for sea life was sparked during her childhood, where she would spend hours exploring the tide pools and marveling at the wonders of the ocean. One sunny day, while conducting research on a coral reef, Serena stumbled upon a hidden danger. A discarded fishing net had become tangled around the coral colony, trapping helpless fish and marine creatures. Serena knew that time was of the essence, and she couldn't save the lives trapped if she acted alone. Desperate for help, Serena sought the assistance of her trusted friend Max, a passionate environmental activist. Together, they organized a team of enthusiastic volunteers from the local community. Their mission was clear: to keep underwater sea life safe from human-induced threats. The team began by spreading awareness among the local fishing communities about the consequences of abandoned fishing gear. They held town meetings, emphasizing the importance of responsible fishing practices and the long-term effects of ghost nets on the delicate marine ecosystem. Recognizing the need for action beyond awareness, Serena and Max decided to create an innovative solution. They developed a biodegradable alternative to traditional fishing nets, spreading the message to fishermen that being eco-friendly was also economically viable. Their efforts did not stop there. Serena and Max collaborated with schools and environmental organizations, organizing clean-up campaigns to remove existing ghost nets from the ocean floor. They taught the children about the importance of recycling and the impact of plastic waste ending up in the sea. As their movement gained momentum, the team received support from passionate individuals around the world. Businesses joined their cause by railing for plastic-free packaging and investing in sustainable practices. Even governments recognized the urgency and passed strict legislation to protect marine life. Years passed, and Serena and Max's effort bare fruit. The underwater sea life began to flourish once again as the coral reefs regained their vibrant colors and the ocean was buzzing with life. The eco-friendly fishing nets became the industry standard, ensuring responsible fishing practices and minimizing unnecessary harm. The tale of Serena, Max and the remarkable team inspired generations to come. The legacy they created ensured the future inhabitants of the ocean would live in a world where they are safe, celebrated and protected.
Hey.
Thank you for enjoying our movie, and I hope you enjoyed our short story about Serena and Max. I hope you can
Alright.
all take this as a lesson.
So that was actually part of a project, getting our high school students, some of our high school students to develop DST in order to create awareness about keeping the climate, getting towards sustaining the world, making the world a better place. So it's not a perfect model of how we could how we could use it for a literary reading class, whatever. But the idea is there. What you could do is, based on a text that students have read, you could get them to produce what we call as a DST. So it will be wonderful to see ranges of interpretation that students come out based on their reading, you see. So some might even tweak the characters to look something else, or they might just rearrange the plot, you see, because they're trying to personalize their narrative, all right? So I think that's all for me. I believe I've come to an end of my slide. I like to thank the organizer for providing a space for me to share and spread ways of teaching, literature as part of reading classes. Back to you, Mr. Adrian.
Yeah, thank you for such amazing presentation from you. Now we move to Q&A session. If there's any question, you can feel free to type in the chat box, everyone. I will remind you that you can ask directly by raising your hand. Let's see if there's a question for Dr. Hanita. You can show to the slide, please. Yes, there's a question. How to implement the method into open distance education where we don't interact directly with the students, like in Universitas Terbuka especially. Previously, he noticed that at the beginning of the implementation, there is interaction with the students. Ibu Hanita, please kindly respond to the question.
Okay, I will try and relate to my ODL program in UKM, where we've got at least 6 classes synchronously organized, where it is not recorded. Perhaps it is practiced differently at UT. So if, let's say, students do not have to attend a particular class, where there could be direct interaction between teacher and students or lecturer and students. So maybe synchronous learning could also take place in a form of WhatsApp or Telegram, where I'm sure there are, there are synchronous effort towards creating such learning. So that can also be one form of talking or discussing over what activities can be done. Or if, let's say, that worst comes to worst, with modules that are prepared and included in the learning management system, what you could do is you could create forums, or you could have question asked to which students can leave comments. Yeah, so providing a forum section is a wonderful way to also interact with students. Possibly that could be a solution. Miss Hadrianto, was it? Mr. Hadrianto. Mr. Hadrianto, I apologize. But again, I think we're still experimenting or trying new things. I mean, I'm sure there'll be someone who's going to suggest something new. Again, this is very natural for us to find solutions as we go.
Thank you for your kind response, Ibu Hanita. Everyone, is there any Malaysian student who want to ask about
Yes,
this
come
topic?
on. Where's my students? Where are you?
Yeah. I looked at in the participant, there are so many Malaysian students who join us today. Hi, everyone. Yeah, you can directly up to your.
Some of them are from China. I'm happy to
from
share
China.
that. Yes, some of them are from China. I think one
I
is
see.
from Pakistan. Yeah, so of course, some also are from Malaysia.
Yeah, everyone, you can join us now to ask directly to your lecturer or your honorable lecturer here, because maybe we don't have any chance soon in the near time. Maybe, yeah. So you can use this chance as many can as possible. Yeah, I would like to the chat box question first. If there's any question.
Actually, the thing about literature and using it as part of, ELE, English Language Education, like what Miss Ika has said earlier, is, especially if you're using the more classical texts, like Shakespeare, whatever, it's more fitting for the advanced readers. I concur on that entirely, but it doesn't, it should not be a limiting aspect, I think the moment students are comfortable and they are somehow curious to know what's going on outside their hometown, outside their country, I think that just excites them and they want to know. Because some of the texts written elsewhere are not as difficult as we think, because with post-colonialism, as soon as the colonizers left the colonized country, this is where the native writers start talking about what they think about things. So the voice is now more localized, and so with this, some of the way thoughts are expressed are more simplified, not as how do we say, as complex or very difficult to read as those written by our colonizer writers, you see. So in Malaysia, we've got our selection of texts written by our Malaysian writers. There's like Shirley Lim, there's Karim Raslan, there's of course Muhammad Haji Saleh, and then of course the younger ones are like Tash Or, so you guys should look out for texts that are written by your own local writers. Of course, to suit for the purpose of English language education, or for EFL, for example, of course, use English text. I think I've read one. I think it was something written it was written by an Indonesian writer. I forgot the name of the writer, but I remember it was something to do with sea. Something sea, not the letter C, but something to do with laut, sea. I've forgotten, the underwater world something, not the movie, the underwater something. So that's one example of text written by locals, and it can be used for English classes, to talk about maybe values or concerns that are shared among local readers. Like what we have in Malaysia, we still talk about things that are very close to heart. We talk about integration, we talk about unity, we talk about, food. Of course, we love food in Malaysia. We talk about, marriage, getting married. We talk about, sometimes about family. So these are issues that are real, and near to our heart.
Yes, actually, I'm curious about when you said, I noticed in your slide, think out loud theory, that when we read, we need concentration, but when think out loud, I think some of us have, personally me, have a difficulty of making it concentrate because I think out loud and then I especially read in English. So, is there any s- uh, eh, uh, possible answer to clear that process?
You know, students are different in many ways. Some, not all students are the same. Some students like, because they are now coming to, enjoying reading. They're coming to enjoy reading. So some of them like to verbalize, like to articulate what they are reading, as if to somehow get themselves familiar. Yeah, this is one category of students. While the others are those who like to, get deep into their reading, so they're silent reader. Of course, the more, for the purpose of speed reading, students are actually encouraged not to verbalize and articulate the words because it somehow hinders the speed, the pace of reading. But I guess for the more somehow students who are trying to get into the whole experience of reading, maybe they are among the beginners, or maybe moving towards intermediate. Maybe they like the feel of hearing how they sound when they read. So it's just like doing newscasting. Hello, everyone. Good morning. They like to listen to themselves. So it's okay. I think it's a balance between what your students like to do, and you should welcome this. I don't think teachers should be limiting between the silent reader and the reading aloud or thinking aloud process. I think it's about celebrating differences.
Yeah, thank you for your kind response about that. Yeah, the mystery is solved, yeah, everyone. Okay, and then the next question is from Miss Juliana. Yeah, she has a question that for what age group the reading method is appropriate for? I noticed that the project use animation. Is it specially for young learners?
The one that was created, the one that I shared was actually produced by students at secondary level. So some of them are from Form 1, some are from Form 2. I don't think Form 5 was included. It was from the examination class forms. So meaning to say if they've got a national assessment going on that year, so they were not involved. So the thing is that I won't be able to say anything about the primary school students because the project involved secondary school students. But the thing is that what happened was the project was first initiated with a workshop, and there were training. The project was actually a collaboration with Apple. So students got to use Apple iPad. So the collaborating schools that we will engage with had their own iPad collection. So they basically draw to illustrate what message that they're trying to deliver. So if let's say that teachers wishes to use this as part of their classroom activities, or let's say they want to use this at school. So let's say iPad or using technology might be a problem. So we could go back to using low tech, like drawing on papers. But let's say that we're engaged in an online practices. I think it can be done by asking students to share screen over what they've doodled, or in a way where later on they compile it and turn it into a YouTube. I hope I'm answering the question. I'm just worried that I'll go meandering. Yes. Can you repeat the question again, just in case I did not answer the question?
Yes, I think you already respond to the answer that she said that for what age group the reading methods appropriate for. Uh, she said about the project, the video that you saw us before, because she noticed that it used animation. So is it especially for young learners or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if you're talking about the primary school level, maybe access to iPad might be slightly more challenging. So if let's say that you're teaching in primary school, pesantren, is it you call in Indonesia for primary school? not pesantren, SMP. SMP is primary, is it? SM,
Junior.
junior.
Elementary is SD, junior is
SD.
SMP, high school is
Okay.
SMA.
So if let's say teachers are considering to get students to visualize, getting them to produce their own visuals, you see, or to incorporate DST. So if let's say primary school students might not have access to iPad or to tablet, what you could do is to somehow get them to create in papers first. I think again, this is not limiting. Again, there's always ways to get students because in the end, it's about getting students to visualize what they're reading, and it's such an interesting project, you see. So I guess it's a continuous. Who knows, if let's say primary schools are given access to tablets in the future. I think we're talking about a bigger, possibility of getting access. Because if I could share about my two boys, whenever they're in cars, whenever they're bored, they don't get to use their hand to use my handphone. What they do is they take out their drawing blocks and start coloring or drawing comics, and then coming up with something that can express whatever that they're thinking. Like the other day, the youngest came up with 5 skills or 5 superpower that a hero needs. So it was done in 30 minutes of driving, because he was going to school and it's basically 30 minutes of drive. So again, there's a lot of room for opportunities. It's just up to us to, to explore, to try,
Yes, it's such an engaging discussion for you. And we have another, maybe this is the last question, yeah. From Nunung Deni Puspitasari, she said that, is it possible, after reading, to introduce grammar to students, such as looking at sentence cases and then explaining to them which sentence uses which grammar? So it's not just the context of the story. For example, make some quiz.
Yeah, I think you can. You can use short stories, you can use poems, you can choose the drama that you use to analyze sentence structure, to analyze or to find out new vocabulary, to understand why is it written this way. So it becomes now a discourse analysis. Why not? I think it will be a wonderful, what Miss Ika said, realistic, what was it, Miss Ika? You have to help me. You use something like a real thing, I forgot the text, the term that you were using. Unlike what is used in extended reading, you use the term. It's a real case where people talk real language, so you can analyze how people think through the words that they say, through the ways that they express themselves. Yeah. Yes, why not?
Yes, why not? Yeah. Yeah, this is the personal request from our lecturer too. He wants to ask you. He's really curious. He is Dwi Reskardianto. Please, Dwi Reskardianto, state your question because he eager to discuss with you directly.
Thank you very much from Mr. Adrian Raski. Yeah, Mr. Raski, yeah. Oh yeah, I wanted to clarify. I am not a girl, mom. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
There is before I asked you from the Q&A questions. But now maybe I will tell you about the condition in Indonesian literature.
Yep.
Now Indonesian literature make a program. This name is Sastra Masuk Kurikulum.
Okay.
From elementary school and until high school, the teacher must be understanding how to teaching about literature. All the subject matter, all the subject matter in the schools, the teacher must be understand how to teaching a literature. But
Oh, for all subjects, math,
all
science,
subjects,
geography.
all subjects,
Wow.
from mathematics, chemistry, not about the language, but all the subject. This is the program from our countries, for the state Indonesian countries, to involvement about sastra masuk curriculum, because our countries have confidence to what is to involvement our critical thinking and literary thinking from our students and our society. But I want to ask you because there is many authors and many writers against these programs from Indonesians. Writers from Indonesians against for the stats programs. The specifically against is about the program to canonizing the literary works. You know, why the writers or the author against that? Because the canonizing can be brief ideological bias from the other from the other culture and so on. I want to ask you your opinion. How important stats involvement is in canonizing literature in educations? Maybe that's the point. My question to you: what's the opinion from you? How the important stats involvement is in canonizing literature in educations? Thank you very much.
Canonizing or canonizing, is it?
Canonizing.
Or making, trying to identify what should be included. Are we talking about determining text selection? Okay, this is text selection. Yes, it's very difficult to identify texts that are appropriate for our own culture, you see, because not all texts from other culture might be suitable. Maybe because, like what you said, they may include different ideologies that might be threatening, or that might not be, that might stir sensitivity. I get you what you're saying. So I think this is where the deciding authority, like the ministry, decides what is suitable and what is not. I think that goes back to what was asked to Miss Ika earlier. How do you decide what is suitable, what is not? I think in Malaysia, the ministry basically identify a group of experts to which they actually determine the text to be selected, and the selection team have to think hard about the values, the themes that these stories, these short stories, these poems, this drama carry before it is given out for the public to read. I guess I think the Indonesian government or the Indonesian Ministry of Education is also doing that. If it has not been done, maybe you guys can come in to propose a more systematic way of selecting text, like as a way to somehow curb unnecessary harmful ideologies that might not be useful for the country or might just threaten harmony within the nation. I think and of course, in some cases, because in Malaysia we've also got PPD, this is where it's at district level. They also come to also decide text selection. Yeah, so I think it is governed by a centralized, if not at national level, maybe at state level. Yeah, there should be a team of people deciding whether this is appropriate or whatsoever. I hope I'm answering your question, Mr. Hardianto.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I
Yeah.
hope we can have a research collaborations. Yeah.
Yes, why not? Why not?
About maybe what is the program in Malaysian countries to involvement literature to educations and we compare in Indonesians. Maybe like that. Thank you very
Sure,
much.
why not? Yes, yes, I
That
welcome that.
you presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Dewi. Appreciate your question. Thank you for such amazing question. Yeah. Thank you for Ibu Hanita too for your response. Sadly, this is the end of our discussion session. I hope everything that already shared within the topic today will be useful to us. A big thank you to both our speaker, Dr. Hanita and Ms. Ika, for providing us new insight into the world of literature in teaching ESL and EFL. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of today, insightful webinar on approaches in the teaching of literature in ESL and EFL classroom, I would like to once again extend my deepest gratitude to our esteemed speakers. Allow me to give a brief summary about being presented today from Ms. Ika about extensive reading, uh, fostering language acquisition through enjoyable context-rich exposure. Extensive reading can enhance vocabulary, fluency, and motivation with implementation tailored to resource availability, promoting effective, accessible language learning globally. And from Dr. Hanita, teaching reading through literary text can be enhanced by engaging strategy, free reading activities such as predicting content or discussing background information, prepare learner for deeper comprehension. And during reading session, like guided reading in text discussion, can maintain focus and support understanding. Also, in the think aloud technique, students can verbalize thought while reading, fostering metacognition and improving comprehension. And also the digital storytelling adds interactive dimension, allowing students to integrate creativity with reading by retelling or analyzing text through digital media. Together, this approach makes reading more engaging, attractive, and effective for diverse learners. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much, Dr. Hanita and Miss Ika. I will give it back to MC, Miss Eji, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Adrian. Thank you to Mr. Adrian, our moderator, our esteemed speakers, and of course, our participants for such an engaging and insightful discussion. So let's give big applause and reaction for everyone, our speakers, moderators, and also the participants. Okay, so due to the time, now we are arrived in the before we conclude the event, we would like to invite Ibu Siti Hadiati to present certificates of appreciation to our esteemed speakers virtually. So maybe later we can take pictures side by side of the certificate, speaker, and also Ibu Dian. So for the first one, the present of the certificate to Ibu Dr. Hanita Hanim Ismail.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, I think you forgot to unmute your microphone, Doctor. Muted, is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bu Dian, we cannot hear you. Sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Doctor.
Thank you, Bu Hanita Hanim, Bu Dr. Hanita Hanim, and also Bu Dian. And the second one, we have the present of certificate for our speaker, Ibu Ika Tri Yunianika, S.Pd, M.Pd. No, we haven't heard you also, Marian.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Budian, and also our speakers. And now for our participants, it would be great if you can turn on your camera, and also, of course, our speakers and also our participants here, so we can take another group pictures virtually. Okay. Hope everyone is ready. Okay, so let's take pictures. 1, 2, 3 from the first slide. Okay, and then next for the second slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then the third slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have 5 slides. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone. And here we would like to inform to all participants, please fill out the attendance form. It is shared through the chat menu. And yeah, we will also display it. And kindly be informed to use your Gmail account. So it will make the certificate send faster through your account. And certificates will be sent to the registered participants who attended the event and completed the attendance form. Yeah, I think we can show it at the end. Not yet. Okay. After all, thank you to our speakers and moderator for their valuable insight and engaging presentation. We also appreciate the participation from everyone in this event. And we look forward to welcoming Bu Hanifa and also Bu Ika in the future events and continue our journey of learning together. I'm Nurul Fauzia as the host. Say goodbye. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a blissful Friday, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.